life and my own family that goes through the same things that you and your family go through. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna park right here for just a second. I go through everything you go through. I am not immune to one thing because I am a man of God, ordained through the holy city and house of Greenville. I've had hands laid on me by the great apostle. Henceforth and therefore I am forever immune. Give me a break. I have the greatest respect. Don't you misunderstand me. I have the greatest respect for my covering apostle. But I have found the greater anointing I get under, the greater the persecution and the greater the attack of the enemy than I had before. Now, I have my own life experience to preach application from. But I also am required to oversee all of yours. Not nosy, not lordship, not that kind of thing. But we're supposed to be walking through this thing together. Supposed to be walking through this thing together. That's why you'll notice every once in a while as I'm leading, you'll see me leading like this with the limp, and instead of hi-ho silver, Tonto, let's go. No, it's just not. It's not the way I operate anymore. I've done had the stuffings beat out of me, beat up and broken and bruised, and that just ain't in me no more. If you ain't going with me, I ain't going. No, you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. If you ain't going with me, I ain't going. If you're going with me, we'll walk this thing together and we'll go for it. But if you ain't going with me, I ain't. Here's the powerful thing. Jesus went on and said, "Blessed is he who is not offended by me." Now, the word offend here means an occasion or to make an occasion to stumble. In other words, when something happens that you weren't expecting. You see, I'm walking along a path that seems safe, and the more comfortable I am with the path that I'm on, the less I watch the path. Because it's supposed to be clear. But then I come upon something that I wasn't expecting, and it trips me up. Now, I know you've never been clumsy enough to be tripped up by a rock on a trail, but I have. I was very offended at the rock. Particularly if it caused me to skin my knees and my hands. As a matter of fact, me and that rock probably going to have an issue. Jesus said, "Blessed is he who is not offended by me." Offended by Jesus. There will be times you'll not be able to explain what is happening to you. And at those times you must not become offended at God, or you will miss the blessing that comes after. You see, sovereignty is something you're not going to figure out on this side. What is sovereignty? God's God. God's God. God's God in everything He does. God's God in everything He allows. Even with a kingdom mentality, which we have that in this house, that by faith the kingdom of God is supposed to manifest upon the earth, and we're supposed to pray, "Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." We are to do that. We walk in that. We believe in the promises of God. But there are still those seasons where nothing seems to be going according to plan. And nothing I can do can change it at that moment. And it's at that point I have to decide, am I going to be offended at God or not? We must be careful. Let me put this up here for you. I'm almost done. I know I'm doing a lot of heavy teaching this morning. We must be careful not to dwell on what is not going our way, because that is exactly what the devil wants us to do. Not only does it breed doubt in us, but it ruins the testimony we have spoken before others of the goodness of God. See, there are people watching you. As a Christian, there are people watching you. And you've been giving all these great testimonies about how faithful is, and then all of a sudden you get stuck. Well, how faithful is your God now? Notice that I said, how faithful is your God now? Because the God is still faithful. The issue is, are you being faithful in trying and difficult times? And people need to see you faithful in difficult times, because that's what draws them to Christ. You see, here's the Lord's word for this house for this year, I believe. Don't be offended at me for the things that didn't go as planned, but rather look at the good things that I have accomplished around you and through you. You see, some of the things that happened to you this year, they were attacks right straight out of the pit of hell. They just out and out attacks of the enemy. Some things are just a part of living in a fallen world. They weren't directly come from the hand of the enemy. Stuff just happens. That's my favorite expression. Don't take it no farther than that. But stuff just happens. Life is life. Some things are loving discipline from the Lord. Yes, they are, and we have to deal with them. Some things are God processing us to become stronger in faith so we can handle the next season that's about to come. And some things are God repositioning us for the next thing that He has for us. But in all these things, all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to His purpose. Don't be offended at God for the transition that is taking place in your life, and that's opening the door for fear and doubt to enter into your future. He must increase, and we must decrease. He's been sifting and shifting us this past year. We've been going through some stuff. Killing our flesh, purifying our motives, making us get rid of our agendas so that He can come to the forefront. In fact, He's been answering our prayers. Lord, it's not about us. It's about others. Now is to come the blessing for those that have suffered without becoming offended to the point of unbelief. You see, here's the deal. Can you put your offenses behind you to have a blessed new year? Now, I'll be honest with you. There was a teaching came in a few years ago that said we need to forgive God. That's baloney. It sounded good, and people cried and did tears at seminars, and the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is trash. Why? Because God ain't never sinned against you. No, He hadn't. Therefore, if He's never sinned against me, I don't ever have to forgive Him of anything. But I do have to learn not to become offended at His ways that are higher than mine at times. And you see, the truth of the matter is there's probably very few of us in here that at one time or another this past year weren't really offended at God. We just didn't want to admit it. We're too religious to be mad at God. So we'll blame somebody else. And we'll take our wrath out on them thinking we're being spiritual. When God is either the one that foreordained it or allowed it. Play with the theology all you want. I don't care. I have decided my God's bigger than anything else out there. And that as long as I'm desiring to walk in His will and doing it to the best of my ability without fretting over it, I don't have to be perfect in it. I just have to have the desire to do it and want to do it. That as long as I'm there, that whatever is coming my way is either foreordained of God or God has allowed for a purpose that is going to do something in me that is going to make me better for the next thing He has for me. I told you a minute ago when I stumbled over the rock in the path, I got mad at the rock. And then after I got mad at the rock, I got mad at me for not seeing the rock that I shouldn't have stumbled. And you see, if we have our eyes truly fixed upon Jesus, then even though He does things I may not understand, I don't have to stumble over them. I can recognize them for what they are. Something that in some way is fulfilling His greater purpose because it's not about me. It's about Him. It's not about me. It's about Him. And if He can do more with less of me, then I say, Lord, I must decrease and You must increase. Tell your neighbor, just let it go. Come on, look at him, Dad. Look square in that. Just let it go. Just let it go. I know some are struggling with it. I understand. It took me a couple of years to get to a place where some things that have happened in my life, I had to say, I'm just letting this go. You got to let it go. Why? Because some things you're not going to figure out. Just let it go. Was God there? Yeah. Why didn't He do what I thought He should do? I don't know. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to let it go. Why? Because He's God and I'm not. I can't change it. He could have changed it then. He could change it later, but He ain't changed it yet. But maybe He's waiting on me not to be offended at Him, because those that aren't offended at Him are blessed. That's good preaching, isn't it? I'm gonna listen to this one again myself. Just let it go. I know some hurts go so. I know some things are horrible. Offenses are horrible things. They're horrible things. They keep old wounds fresh and hurting. I know people that are still hurting over something that happened to them 20 years ago, and it is just as fresh, and they are just as offended today as they were 20 years ago. Can I tell you, the devil is dancing all around you, having a blast. Why? Because you just won't let it go. But. Just. I mean, really, when it comes to your personal joy and happiness and being blessed before the Lord, and living in a prison cell of doubt and unbelief and hurt and anger, you pick. I'm telling you, most people have the key to their own prison door. They just don't want to use it. I got to be careful. I won't get in big trouble. You see, offenses breed anger and bitterness in us. Most angry, bitter people I know are angry and bitter because of some deep-seated offense that happened to them in the past. Until they can turn loose of it. You see, I could use the word forgive, but